Now, we all know that over the years, Kathleen Kennedy has made many wrong decisions between the sequel trilogy movies, the solo Star Wars film, and a handful of other projects that went haywire, that of course really gave Disney a very bad reputation and a bad image when it comes to developing Star Wars projects and more. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, it is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the new universe between George, John, and Dave is that, of course, we already have a lot of Legends lore making its way back into the Disney canon. Officially speaking, that's going to be overlooked by George Lucas, which by the way is a great thing and all. But when we look at something specific about what the higher-ups over at Disney, the Disney board members, of course, as of 2022, are really looking forward to making a lot of different changes behind the scenes on exactly how they can really correct the wrongs of what Kathleen Kennedy did with the Star Wars universe overall. Now, we already know that shows, of course, out there that will be announced at Celebration are going to be handled by creators like Favreau, Filoni, and others out there. That's going to be presented on stage, and it's really going to raise the bar for the Star Wars universe and exactly where it's all going. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very curious about is exactly what's been going on with Kennedy as a producer, and of course handling the Star Wars franchise as a whole, up until, of course, Disney plans to really make some major changes with the Kathleen Kennedy era. We'll talk about that in just a second or two. Now, on top of this, with that being said, we already know that Bob Iger is making some major adjustments, major changes. Ever since he took over Chapek, he really wants to create a new legacy for himself when it comes to this franchise in particular. However, of course, with Lucasfilm getting ready to create a new roadmap for Star Wars led by Disney CEO Bob Iger, both Favreau and Filoni are excited for what they will be able to reveal at Celebration next year. Now, further, it's noted that just recently Kathleen Kennedy got fired from one of the biggest Star Wars projects in the early stages right now as a producer that has described the focus on all Mandoverse characters in a new epic tale called Star Wars Mandalore. Now, initially, Kennedy was attached to this project as a producer and held the financial power over the show and what kind of budget the show was going to receive. Now, with Disney and the board making the call to fire her as a producer from the series, Jon Favreau is now in as a producer for Star Wars Mandalore, and is described to be increasing the budget significantly as well as improving the story to promise Disney that a better quality product will make up for increasing the budget as well. Now, let me just, stop right here for 1 second. Now, the great thing about this is that Mandalore, for those of you that don't know, initially was called the Bo-Katan series. It's going to take place both in the present and the past, focusing on Bo-Katan, Tar Vizsla, Din, Grogu, Ahsoka, and Luke. It's really going to be the Avengers of the Star Wars franchise, so to speak. Basically, that is what it's going to be. That's not to say it's going to have that superhero vibe per se. It's just going to be that overall format where all of the characters are going to be a very main focus as a group to a degree, where they eventually split up into teams. So that's overall what they are trying to do now with Star Wars Mandalore, and how it's also going to have some past elements focusing on Tar Vizsla, the very creator of the Darksaber, who was once a Mandalorian and a Jedi. That was teased by the Armorer in the Book of Boba Fett Episode 5. So, we already know that Kennedy has made a lot of wrong decisions, and with her now officially fired from Mandalore, Favreau is now taking over as a producer. Now, with him acting as a producer, this gives him even more privileges of making the show probably one of the most successful Star Wars shows to date. Because number one, it's going to have a very high budget, it's going to have a real cinematic style. Number two, it's going to feature all those Mandoverse characters in one shot. And number three, it is going to be used as a wrap-up for the Mandalorian story itself. So this is going to be coming after Mando 4, if they are not to make a Season 5 and 6, because Favreau has put it out there that he would like to stop at a Season 6, but if Mando 4 does not prove to be successful, they're going to stop at Mando 4. So that's one thing that we do know that was told to us by Favreau. On top of this, Mandalore is set to focus on both present time and the past, showcasing stories of Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, and Tar Vizsla, with an addition of Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano teaming up with Ezra and Sabine Wren to take on the ruthless Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, Disney's plan is to slowly keep firing Kennedy's projects by one as a producer until they finally are going to get rid of her altogether by August of 2023, is the plan by Bob Iger right now. Kennedy is described to be furious over this decision, as she wanted to give her own versions of Din, Bo-Katan, and of course others in Star Wars Mandalore. Now, with Favreau now acting as a producer, they plan to make it top-notch as a series, and to make it appear movie-like and cinematic, just like Star Wars Andor was. So for those of you that are not aware, Andor really had a very high budget. And there's a lot of reasons why it did. You know, Tony Gilroy really wanted to make sure that it was going to hold that value of Rogue One, the appearance of Rogue One, and how that was a very cinematic movie. They wanted to make it on the same exact level. And so now what Favreau wants to do is that he wants Mandalore to be like a movie, almost movie-like with the budget. Kennedy did not want this. She wanted to keep the budget very, very low. In fact, she wanted to make Mandalore even lower budget than Mando Season 3, which, honestly, I don't know why you would want to do that. The higher the budget, the more attractive a show is going to be, and it's going to be more cinematic, more, movie-like I always like to say, and it's just going to attract more viewers. So, on top of this too, Favreau was really putting it out there that Star Wars Mandalore, really is going to be something truly special. So Mando 4 is going to be the setup to it all, and he even teased Mandalore a couple of months back that Mando 4 is going to be a setup for something truly special with a new Star Wars show. Obviously, he's referring to Star Wars Mandalore, there's no doubt about that, and a lot of fans have been wondering more and more about the mythos of Mandalore, the mythology of it all, and it's going to answer a lot about that. So I think that this is a good move by the Disney board. They made the right call to get rid of Kennedy for this new Star Wars show that's not only going to be, by the way, very dark and gritty, but it's also going to be led by George Lucas to a degree. He's slated to be a co-writer for Star Wars Mandalore, working very close with Favreau and Filoni. That's the overall plan right now, to succeed and to really make this actual story very much embedded within the Star Wars franchise. So on top of this, guys, there's a lot of things happening over at Lucasfilm and Disney as companies, a lot of change coming our way. They're really trying to raise the bar here. So anyways, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.